All right, so this is a complicated thing to cut out. So if I just use the magic wand, the standard magic wand, it will have trouble selecting, all of these different cloud fragments and sky. And so when I delete it, it's going to leave all these little remnants. So is there another way? Well, one way is to try some of these other kind of magic tools. The object selection tool, you just kind of click on it and it will try to find the object. And it doesn't usually work very well. You can play with it and set it in different ways. But it's mostly made for selecting out people from backgrounds. The quick selection tool is more like a brush that you paint with. So if I take this and I just kind of paint, your Command D to deselect, kind of just paint this, right, as the thing I want to select, it can kind of work, but it's not going to be as detailed as I want, right? And then I can duplicate that out. So it works in some areas and doesn't work in others. So good Photoshop is being able to really control your selections. Another tool that some students find really helpful is the magnetic lasso tool. So this is at the bottom of the lasso. So basically you use it just like you would a regular lasso, but it will use what it can to assist you to like stick to what is contrasted. And this is an old tool in Photoshop, and unfortunately it also does not work too well, and you have to finish up the selection. Like so. So what I am going to do is pretty straightforward. I am going to use the magic wand, and I'm going to use it at a higher tolerance. So contiguous anti-alias, but I'm going to use it at 88 tolerance. Got to make sure I'm on the right layer here. Okay, so now when I hit like the cloud at 88 tolerance and I hit delete, it really gets anything close to it, right? So even though the sky isn't as flat as it was in the first, this is a way of averaging out all those things that are different than the silhouette of this ship. And if it takes a little too much, that's okay. But I'm at about 200%. You can see that in the bottom corner. So I want this to look fairly clean and good. I'm getting rid of the clouds and I'm getting rid of the blue, and I'm doing it kind of one-on-one. I can use the space bar to kind of move around it. Even though this is outside of my composition, I can cut all of this out because I now have a higher tolerance on my magic wand. Now this is concept art. This is giving an idea of a fantasy setting. It's not about super fine detail compositing work. So I don't need every chord, every bit of the rigging to be intact, especially because I can't redraw them. So it's okay if those lines just end up getting erased, or if some poles get cut off. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I lose whole sides of the structure, like there, then I want to do Command Z, and then I might do something instead, like the lasso tool, and I want to find that edge myself. Chunk by chunk. And this would actually be a good candidate for the polygonal lasso. So I can get that really straight. Trim that up. Back to the magic wand. And you can use multiple tools together. Whoops, don't want to do that. So now I can go to the polygonal lasso. Trim this up. And then go to the magic wand. And just keep changing this as I go. Now here's another trick, which is kind of a real professional hack. So the problem often with just relying on the magic wand is it erases more than you want it to. So for instance, here it's erasing too much of that horizon line. But I can augment the selection. Just like I can hold down Shift to add to it, I can hold down Option to subtract from the selection. All right, so it keeps that horizon line. Also, I can use the magic wand and I can turn off contiguous. So now it's going to select everything that's blue, right, within a pretty wide range. The problem is if I hit delete, it's also going to delete these reflections that are blue on these poles. So what if there's a way for it only to delete where I want it to delete? Well, there is. I leave it selected. So all those selections are active on this layer. And then I use my eraser tool. I'm going to use my eraser tool at 100% opacity. I'm going to use it large and fairly soft. And then I just use the selection as a stencil. So I don't erase it here, but I do erase it up here. To let the sky come through. And that saves me the time of clicking each and every little square, right? So you can use selections in lots of different ways to get better cutouts. Now there's no real blending yet because I'm using either one layer or the other. I'm not blending one sky into another sky, but this soft eraser is how I would do that. And so I'll show that next. With whatever the next piece of my composition is. So for instance, as I get to the sky here, maybe I don't want to cut it out really cleanly. Maybe I just want to get rid of the hard edge like that. And then I can go to a lower opacity and I'll blend the two together. You see? So it's a little bit lighter there in the sky because now that sky is blended with a low soft opacity eraser. See how it gets darker when I turn it off. Now there's little remnants because I used the magic wand, so I'm going to use that 100% eraser to get rid of those. All right. Now, what about here? This is where blending can happen. I'm at 100% opacity. I want to blend this water into this water, see if that's possible. First, I have to get rid of that hard edge. The hard edge is a dead giveaway. But I want to keep it on the horizon a little bit. Okay. So I get rid of that hard edge all the way down. All the way around. Just 100% soft-edged eraser. Get rid of that hard edge. I don't need to worry about that side because that's the edge of my composition. Okay, now to blend that water, now I can go to lower opacities. So it was 100% eraser. Now I'm going to go to like 50, and I'm going to start raking it in. And I see I only get a little bit of overlap. So I got to transition this pretty quick. Like that. That's about all I get. Okay. What's the next layer? I'm going to hit Command S to save that progress because that was a lot of cutting out. And maybe I like that so much I don't want to lose the top of this. So I'm going to take my sky, I'm going to transform it and make it a little bit taller. Give me a little bit more sky for the drama. Okay, now what's next is this guy. And what do I do first? Direct adjustments. Start with levels. I'm going to darken it, darken those midtones, limit the highlights, have this set into the background a little bit. Next, color balance. It's way too bright. I'm going to push the midtones towards blue. Come on. There we go. And towards cyan. And a little bit towards magenta. That's looking better. Highlights. Put a little bit of the yellows back in, but not much. Touch of the red. And then the shadows, put that blue back in the shadows. And the cyan. And the magenta. Okay, so that's it's levels, levels and color balance, the ones I like the best. Now for big shifts, hue saturation, push the spectrum back and forth a little, maybe about there, and then the saturation, do I want it more intense? Do I want it less? For this one, maybe actually a tiny bit less, just -2 saturation. Okay, now, can I use Magic Wand? I'm at 88, contiguous unchecked, which means I can't just hit delete or I'll lose way too much. And I'm going to lose too much. So I need to step it back. 88's too much. Let's try 32. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to try to select out that color. So I held down Option and used the Magic Wand to delete it. And then I'm going to use just my eraser at 100%. And I'm going to start cutting it out. So kind of stenciling and then erasing. And you see it's getting to a lighter blue that's not quite within the parameters. So this is fairly safe to do because even the lighter blues aren't being selected. That will be my next round. I'm zoomed in at 300%, the most I ever think you should be zoomed in. And I'm moving around by just holding down the space bar and trimming it out. Okay, deselect, go out. Now I've got the lighter blue to worry about because we have that strong gradation. So I can use the Magic Wand again, select that blue. And now I'll be a little bit more careful. You see how it's selecting a little too much. So I'm going to use the Magic Wand, hold down Option, and minus that dark blue, those dark blue chords from the selection. And now I can get this stuff that remains. And maybe I'll zoom out a little bit to 200 so I can cover more ground a little bit more quickly. Because I think I understand the parameters now. And it's almost got all the blues. Just leaving a few lighter ones that I'll have to come around and get. But it's a whole lot easier than cutting them all out by hand with the lasso. But remember, not hitting delete, using it as a stencil for this eraser.